Hello, everybody. Please like, share, follow, comment. And if you feel like calling in, you can also do that. This is the Real Talk Power Hour. And Kenneth, introduce yourself and what the show's about tonight. And I'll pull up the sponsor and get that information going.
Hey, everybody out there. It's your boy Ken Wayne going live. Welcome in, everybody. We're a little empty tonight. Got a few people under the weather. Interviews, had some other stuff come up tonight. So we're just going to sit around here. Me and Lisa's going to kick it, talk about a little business, talk about little things that's going on out there in the public. Y'all can call in if you got any questions, anything like that. Call-in number is, give them the call-in number, Lisa.
The call-in number is 832-539-3838. So if you have any questions, concerns, you want to make a comment, you want to ask us a specific question, all you got to do is give us a call and we'll answer that question for you. Our sponsors for the Power Hour are Craven Cakes, located at 7676 Hillmont Street. You can go to the website at www.cravencakes, spelled KRAVINGCAKEZ.squarespace.com. Or you can call them at 979-530-7538 for all of your cake needs, whether it's a wedding, a birthday party, or just because. They'll definitely take care of you. If you take a look on their Craving Cakes Facebook page or Instagram page, you'll see all the delightful, wonderful cakes that they make. Chocolate-covered shoes, the whole 9 yards. So definitely check them out. Give them a like, a follow, a comment, and definitely support. Our other sponsor for tonight's show is Let 'Em Eat Food and Catering. You can call them at 281-995-7801. Do you have a new location for him?
Thirsty Dogs.
Thirsty Dogs. So we'll
Drunken Dogs.
Drunken Dog, I think sounds right.
Drunken Dog.
Yeah, so we'll get that information updated because the address we have on file is an old address. He is at another location now, still in the Katy area, but a different address. So we'll get that updated on our website and everything and let you guys know where he's located. But if you want to order some catering, definitely reach out to 281-995-7801.
Let him eat. And he's now in a restaurant setting, so you can go in and sit down and eat.
Nice.
And everything. So we like George and Weezy moving on up.
Right.
Shout out to KP moving on up. Let him eat.
That is awesome. So just regular seats and waitresses and stuff, or it's just like a cafeteria deli type?
It's like a bar restaurant type.
Nice. Okay. We're definitely going to have to check them out. So we'll get that information updated and get it to you. Our topic for tonight, we definitely want to talk about the article. I don't know if you guys have seen it on ABC 13 or not, but I watched it just a few minutes ago. It talked about a teacher being fired for slapping a student. I think it was a little more than a slap. I saw that head bounce off the wall. I don't know. I only watched it one time, but you could tell there was that the teacher was very aggravated. So there's no telling what the student did. I haven't read the story. I'm on ABC 13 now trying to find it, but I did watch the video briefly. I think Malcolm posted it. And, it talked about the teacher being fired for slapping the kid. But like I said, it looked a lot more than that. But with the aggravation, the way he was walking and came out of the classroom, it was like there's definitely a missing part of the story. What did the kid do prior to, the teacher being at a point where slapping him was his only option at that point? As a parent, of course, I am not going to give two craps why you felt the necessity to put your hands on my child. But also, there's been times where I've wanted to put my hands on my children because they can get kind of out of hand, and sometimes people do snap. So, obviously, you can't really allow him to stay employed because It's not his place.
And the school kind of stood behind him, didn't it? They didn't
I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to read the story. It just came across my Facebook. I did watch the video, and the video looked bad, but it also looked like, okay, there had to have been a reason. But is that reason a good reason? So, we have Sam Smith with Sam Smith Consulting that is a representative for the school district. And he's told us some stories. Obviously, he can't go into great detail because, of confidentiality and everything, but he'll tell us little snippets about situations that he's dealing with. And it amazes me how often this really happens inside of a school. But it happens just as often the opposite way, where the children are putting their hands on kids. So at what point does that child be held, is held accountable? Are they expelled from school? I would love to hear the other side of that, because obviously you don't want a teacher putting their hands on you. But when I grew up, that was the thing. It was allowed.
You got your hands put on every day.
When I was in school, if your teacher didn't put her hands on you, then you had to deal with your parents when you got home. Yeah. Because I feel like I was abused as a kid growing up, because, I had teachers, you couldn't even say anything unless she asked you a question. And if you so much as burped in her class, she would dig her fingernails into my shoulders. And I got blamed for everything. She didn't like me for some reason, but she would walk up behind me, and she was like a witch, and would just dig her long fingernails into and I got so tired one time, I told her, I said, you do that to me one more time, my mom's going to come up here and beat your blank. So needless to say, I got called to the principal, and I told the principal pretty much the same thing. Let my mom come up here. She's going to whoop you. So needless to say, my mom came up and pretty much let them know that I was right. She's okay with discipline if I do something wrong, but for the teacher to just neglectfully and abusively dig her fingernails in, there's a difference between discipline and abuse, and that's abusive. So, she locked me in the closet and all kinds of stuff. And it wasn't just me, there was other students, but it was like, when did that change? And, is it a good thing that it changed or a bad thing that it changed? Because I grew up pretty good.
I think it changed with the rules. They took the corporal punishment out of your house.
But then let you carry guns without a license.
Yeah, but you can't beat your child for doing something wrong.
For real.
You go to jail.
I've had several police officers told me when my kids were acting up that I should have whooped them. And I'm like, why? So an hour from now, you could be showing up at my door with CPS?
Exactly.
And of course they tell you, no, there's a difference between discipline and abuse. But I never wanted to be the mother to discipline her children like that. They had already had a rough start. So I didn't want to be that parent. And trust me, this day and age, I forget.
Discipline in my house means you got a few marks left on you.
Yeah.
Now you go to jail.
Well, you live to regret some of the decisions you make in life. And that was definitely one of those decisions I regret. I should have paddled that butt growing up. I feel like I'd get a lot more respect and go through a lot less struggles now. Because, my form of punishment was no TV, the PlayStation taken away. You couldn't go to your friends for the weekend, different things like that. So, after a while, they're like, okay, oh, well,
I get it back.
No TV tomorrow. Or, like my daughter would say, well, she took it away for a week, but I'll get it back tomorrow. Yeah. So I don't know. So if anybody has watched the ABC 13 story and they want to chime in, they want to tell us their thoughts, or if they've dealt with a situation where, their child has been abused at school, but you feel like, not that the teacher was right, but that they had a reason maybe to get upset. So you didn't pursue it maybe, or that you didn't have a reason to get upset and you really took it to the next level. Because I know I have zero tolerance when it comes to my children in school. My son was born with a cleft palate and cleft lip. So he had a lot of issues with bullying, kids being mean to him. And I just feel like the school didn't do enough. And it got to a point where I had to put my foot down and let them know that I had zero tolerance. Yeah. Zero tolerance. And they needed to do their job and protect my child while my child was at school, or I was going to be in their face every day. Because that's just something that I didn't feel that was right. You know, I would tell my son all the time, that's a gift from God. You know, it's if other kids are making fun of you, it's because they don't have that gift. It's because God didn't kiss them with that. You know, I try to make it a good thing for him because kids were so mean and so hateful, and the teachers would never do anything. He would tell the teachers and they're like, okay, go sit down. Okay, go sit down my ass. Yep. You know, what are you going to do about it? So I went up there, raised all kinds of hell, and told him the best thing for you to do is handle it before he gets home, because if he comes home one more day, there's going to be hell to pay. You're going to need to call the police and have them waiting up here because I'm taking somebody out. I just didn't feel like it was appropriate, but I raised my kids about people being different. And the one son that always got picked on, we took him to Texas Children's Hospital. And there was a little boy in a wheelchair, and his legs were small. His arms were small. His head was big. And I remember he was wearing a helmet or something. And I had raised them to know, you know, you don't talk about people. You don't do what, you know, those people were doing. You know, we had lots of family meetings about it. And as soon as we get in the elevator with that little boy, he screams out, "Mom, what's wrong with that boy?" I'm like, I've never been so embarrassed in my life. And of course, you know, they ended up being friends because they went to the same doctor and stuff. But it was just like no amount of education in the world prepares you for a situation like that.
Yep.
You know, but it starts at the school level. You know, they say when a child is being bullied, it's because there's something going on at home. They are lashing out because something is happening to that person. And 9 times out of 10, that's true. They're being abused sexually, mentally, physically, emotionally, and they're seeing their parents get abused. You know, something is going on at that house or in the area that they're at that's causing them to lash out their pain on another child. So I don't know. I think the schools are getting better. But when you hear about all these kids that have taken their own lives because they didn't handle it, I was surprised to see that the teacher was terminated, because it normally draws out to a big, huge ordeal. And half the time nothing happens to the teacher.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of brushed under the.
Yeah, we went through a similar situation like that, and mine kept coming home telling us that he was being bullied, you know, and we was like, okay, you know, don't do this. And I went and I thought about it, and I was like, okay, if he put his hand on you tomorrow, you do what you got to do.
Right.
With it. You just call me and I'll deal with the rest, but you do what you got to do. I'm not going to tell you just to sit back and allow somebody to pick on you. You know, you've been trained good enough. You go do what you got to do. So he went to school the next day, and it didn't take much, and it didn't take long for him to figure out, you know, so this was an ongoing thing. They fought and they fought and they fought. And I was like, okay, so when is this going to stop? So we had to go to the school and let them know, like, hey, you know, now he knows that he can't whoop mine. So what happens next? I say, it's a continuing ongoing thing. So this kid bring a gun to school. He bring a knife to school because, you know, obviously he can't win now, and he's embarrassed because he was the bully and the aggressor, and now the tables have turned. So what happens now? And you know, it was a big concern of ours, and it was like, they was like, well, we need to move your child. No, why do you need to move mine?
No, I've had that happen too.
Yeah, no.
Well, we're going to move your child to another room.
No,
why? She's not the problem child.
No, that's right. Well, we can't move him. His parents won't allow. Well, I'm here to won't allow. So if I got to come and sit in the classroom every day, that's what's going to happen. You know, because mine is not going to feel like he's being punished for something that he didn't do.
No, I just watched the video again, and definitely the head bounced off the wall for sure. But this is Malcolm's post, so there's really no knowledge of what happened, but it did allow me to pull up the actual story. This happened in Jimtown High School. Teacher was barred from school grounds for striking a student, which was caught on school security cameras. A Northern Indiana teacher who lost his job was barred from school grounds, and security video showed him slapping a student in the hallway, has been granted early retirement. According to the release, The teacher confronted the student on February 25th about his hooded sweatshirt the student was wearing. So you lost your job because you're trying to keep up with a policy that probably shouldn't be a policy to begin with. I mean, what is it really doing for somebody, a kid, to be in school with a hoodie on? I mean, is it preventing them from learning?
Maybe a distraction.
It could be.
Yeah,
But to
well,
the
rules are the rules. We gotta follow. And you know what? And I feel, a lot of things that goes on that we see in the news, and these kids do these days. And one thing that I don't like is the respect for the police.
Yeah.
Because when I was coming up, if they told you to lay down in the dirt, you lay down in the dirt.
Exactly.
But these refuse, and they fight, and they got guns, and they get shot. But then the police are abusing them because they did that. Well, all you have to do, if they pull you over, take your ticket and go home.
Right.
That doesn't have to be a confrontation.
Right.
Nothing has to be confrontational. But kids these days are very confrontational. They don't want you to tell them anything. You can't do anything with them. And, that's what we need to work on. Is in society, is teaching these kids how to be not so. Everybody has an opinion about. I have a 10-year-old at home, and you tell him something, and you have to explain to him why you're telling him. Wait a minute, why do I have to explain to you that you need to do this? Well, why? Well, why? Why do I have to do this? And why do I have to do that?
I had one of those too.
When I was 10, if I said why, I got thrown out the window.
Oh, yeah. Malcolm would tell my kids all the time, do you know what would happen if I told my dad why? He would try to teach them not to do that. But to this day, they still do it. Yes. Why? Well, I don't understand. Well, why do I have to do it this way? Why can't I do it my own way? And I'm like, so I got to the point where as long as the outcome is the way that I want the outcome, I don't care how you reach that goal. But this is my expectations. Let's make it happen. And it still wouldn't happen. I'm putting the ball in their court and letting them do it how they want to do it. And it still wasn't working out to my benefit. And a lot of people kept saying it's because they had ADHD, but I feel like that's an excuse.
We all had ADHD. Yeah. It just wasn't no medication.
I have ADHD and I don't ask why, unless I really feel like there's a problem and I want to know, is this necessary? Is there not another way we could do this? I might look at the good and the bad part of it and be like, well, we could do it this way, but this, and this could happen. But at the end of the day, I'm not just going to be like, why? I'm just going to do it.
Yeah, I was given, when I was in school, ADHD. We probably did have it. I got an ultimatum. I bought my report card home one day. It had a D, and it had the the behavior was bad also. It had a U. And she looked at me, my mom looked at me, she said, well, I'm going to give you a choice. If you're going to be a damn fool, you're going to be a smart. You know what I'm saying? But if you're going to be dumb, you're going to be the best kid in the class. You got a choice. You can't be a fool and be a dummy at the same time. It just doesn't mix.
Right.
I'll give you one of the two. I'll give you one of the two. If you bring me a 90 and you got a U, that's cool. Because you're doing your work. You may be a class clown, but you're doing your work.
Exactly.
But you can't bring me an F and a U home. You can't do that.
And Malcolm would tell them all the time, we don't expect you to be perfect. We just expect you to try, to give it your best. And, not being perfect is when you are doing both. You're not doing your homework and you're cutting up in school. And it's like, okay, so what good happened today? Because this is all negative stuff. Tell us something positive that happened today. Nothing.
We went to lunch.
Yeah, and lunch sucked. So we try to teach them, if you come home with something negative, counteract it with something positive. So then my daughter got in the habit. She would come home and she's like, Mom, I made an 80 on my test. I'm like, yay. But I got grounded or I got suspended today. And I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of what I taught them was, don't bring all negatives home. Bring me a positive too, or a solution to why you were negative so that it doesn't happen again. That was, I just wasted my breath on that because it was like, if you get a slap on the hand, you're going to do it again. You want to see how far you can push people. And that's how my kids were. They wanted to see how far they could push the teachers and what punishment it would take. And, like myself, a lot of threats were happening. If you do that again, you're going to the principal. If you do that again, you're going to detention. If you do that again, I'm going to call your mom. And it never happened. And I got to a point where I had to tell the teachers, well, if you're telling my child you're going to call me because they do something wrong, I expect you to pick up that phone and call me. And you're not doing that. Well, I was just trying to give them. No, that's why I'm having the problems that I'm having, is because I was trying to be their friend too. You're not there to be your friend. You're not paid to be their friend. You're there to teach them. And that means right from wrong. If you tell them you're going to call me, if this behavior continues and you don't call me, what reason are you giving them for them to stop that behavior? None. They're like, well, she's not going to do anything anyway, so I'm just going to continue to do it. I never had any problems with my kids putting hands on the teachers, but cussing them out, that was a regular. Refusing to do work, getting up in the middle of class and walking out, to me, that is so disrespectful. Yeah. So disrespectful. And the teachers would tell them, come back in the class, and they would just ignore them. And I'm like, wow, you were not raised this way. Well, I don't know where you got that from, but they'd see their friends doing it, and it's okay for them to do it.
Shout out to the teachers. Fat Tuesday, get your margaritas.
Yeah, tacos and margaritas, baby. So I don't know. Tell us what you think. Do you think it's a positive or a negative? Should the teacher have been fired or given another chance? Did the student deserve it? You have to look at it that way.
I think all the facts should be laid out, but still that's uncalled for, because you're trained to do. It's just like in the corporate world.
But are they really trained? Really? I mean,
we're not trained, but look what happens in the corporate world.
Yeah.
If you're working on $100,000 deal and somebody says something to piss you off, does it go over your shoulder, or do you react? Do you cuss them out and walk out the room and leave that money on the table? Or do you suck it up and come to a resolution?
Well,
you know what I'm saying? And it happens every day in the business world.
Yeah.
It happens every day. So you have to learn to control your emotions.
Right.
And no matter how hard the pressure is, sometimes you have to learn to control those emotions. And I, for one, was one of those.
Yeah.
But as you get older, you learn, you have to try to control your emotions, but it probably was uncalled for him to slap him and, and for his head to hit the wall. He did it pretty good,
And he actually chased the student down the hall. So at what point could you have stopped in that hallway and said, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then let it go? Go to the principal and say, this is what happened today. I want him expelled, suspended. I want a meeting with his parents. At what point could he have prevented that from happening? I feel like he came out of the classroom mad and was walking behind him and then ran to catch up with him to put his hands on him. That whole thing could have been prevented regardless of the reasoning. That's just my opinion. Just from reading what I read and watching the video, I feel like the teacher was definitely in the wrong, regardless of what the student did to get there. And all they're mentioning is a hoodie. Okay, you don't want to take your hoodie off. Remove yourself from my classroom. Period. Go see the principal. But to put your hands on them because I don't like the pants you're wearing today. So what? I don't have to do my schoolwork today because I don't like the pants you're wearing? I mean, yes, there's rules and hoodies may not be allowed in the school, but at what point is it okay to put your hand on a child because they disobeyed that rule? No, there's other ways to do it. Remove the child from your classroom, call the parents, send them to the principal, not chase them down the hall to put your hands on them.
Because cameras see everything.
Everything.
Cameras see everything these days. We got away with it when we were young because there was no cameras. There was no social media. There was no you. If you made the news, you killed somebody.
Yeah.
Now you make the news for stealing a candy bar out of the store.
Yeah, cameras are everywhere. And criminals don't seem to care, though. I mean, people do the stupidest stuff knowing there's people going live right across the street. It kills me. And then, like, we watched a movie the other night where somebody had done a hit and run. outside the airport. You don't think that airport is covered in security cameras? Covered. You're right across the street from a dealership. Gonna be cameras.
Yeah.
But you leave the scene of the accident. You're gonna get caught. Why not stay, face the consequences? Now you've got double consequences because, you know, you didn't think somebody caught you. Yeah, you were out in a area where maybe you could have got away with it, but not with all the cameras. Thank you for calling. How can we help you?
Hello, it's Malcolm.
Hi, Malcolm.
Hi.
What can we do for you tonight?
Ma'am?
What can we do for you tonight?
I'm just calling in to let you guys know I'm sorry for not being there, and y'all are doing a great job, though.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. You should be right here with us because, you know, the no guest thing really throws everything for a loop. But we do have an awesome topic thanks to your post.
Yes, that's exactly why I make those posts to fill the slots. I mean, to fill the missing spaces in conversation.
So what are your thoughts on what happened?
I want to chime in too on my thoughts. I've been listening to the show so far, and you just said a couple minutes ago, you said yourself that it was about the hoodie. Now, it probably was about the hoodie, but we all know how bad these kids' mouths are. I don't think it was just the hoodie. I think that kid walked out of there and said, "Fuck you." You know, I'm not supposed to say that on this show, but, you know, he probably gave him the finger, the bird, whatever you want to call it, and probably said a couple expletives to him. That's probably what ran in mind. I don't think it was just the hoodie. I'm not trying to explain it, excuse him for his slap, his behavior, running out of the classroom. He had plenty of chance to turn around and calm himself down. But I was commenting on what you said a couple minutes ago about you're gonna slap a kid behind a hoodie. No, I don't. I think it was more than that.
Right, and I'm sure it was too. You know, they're not going to give you the whole story because he looked very, very upset. For a teacher to get that upset about a school policy and lose your job over it, there definitely has to be more to the story. But again, at what point can you walk away? You know, they tell an abuser, could you have walked away? Couldn't you have left? Why didn't you leave? You know, they tell the same thing. Not that he's an abuser. I'm not giving him that title, but I'm just saying I watched him come out of the classroom, walk behind him, then run to catch up with him before putting his hands on him. I feel like he could have turned around, stopped, counted to 10, got somebody else's attention. He could have done it differently. And to allow him to retire early to where he still gets his retirement stuff, I think that's bullshit.
Oh, is that what's happening?
Yeah, I read, there's a couple of different news articles that I clicked on, and one of them said he was allowed to take early retirement.
Oh, they gave him a choice, so okay.
But yeah, so you're going to sit at home and get paid instead of being at school because you did something you shouldn't have done. So where's the punishment? That's a reward to me. You don't have to go to school every day and deal with these kids, and hey, you still get to collect a paycheck.
All right. I definitely think he could handle it differently. I definitely think the school could handle it differently as it pertains to the teacher's discipline. But I don't know. It might be fair, and in some people's eyes, it might be unfair in other people's eyes. But hey, we already know they're going to protect their own, whether it's the police officers or the school board. They're going to protect their own, and he's probably been with them 30 years, you know, so they feel like, okay, he's, you know, it might be his first infraction or whatever. Let's take it easy on him. I don't know. But a lot of those teachers get fired, and I've personally known some teachers that retired and came back. So retiring doesn't really mean anything.
Right.
So
absolutely.
That doesn't mean anything. You could come right back.
Just wipes his record clean.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Just wipes his record clean.
Just wipes his record clean.
Yep.
Exactly.
Wow.
So But I'm glad I put that filler up. I thought it was interesting. I don't post all news, but that was interesting. And then I even tagged Sam Smith in it, and so now he's probably gonna get involved.
Well, it was in Indiana, so I
tag, so he'll probably get involved too and find out what the hell. But what else can he do? I don't think Sam can do anything. They've already fired him.
Well, it's in Indiana, so nothing.
Right. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not there again. I'm in the only position that I could get comfortable in because it was killing me. I sit in the chair and I'm fine. The wheelchair, I'm fine. But I'm tired of it. It's kind of uncomfortable. It has some jagged edges on it. It's uncomfortable. So yeah, so I decided to just climb up in the bed and I'm semi-comfortable. And I didn't want to get on camera like this. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. Y'all are doing great though. Miss y'all. We'll hopefully they'll take care of this him soon, and I'll be back in the sun.
All right, sounds
All
good.
right.
Thank you for calling.
Get well, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. So, scenario: your kid comes home from school, or you get a call from the school that the teacher slapped your son. Your son is 9? 10. Your son is 10 years old, and the school calls and says there's an incident with the school. You know, regardless of how it happened, let's just play a scenario. Your son was wearing a hoodie and refused to take his hoodie off. I know for a fact schools are cold. So maybe that kid just kept his hoodie on because he was cold. You know, especially like when I was going to college, I was freezing. Every classroom I went to was freezing cold. It's hard to concentrate and do your work when you're cold. You know, there's certain things that I can't do when I'm cold because I'm already anemic. So I'm like double cold. I'm more cold than a normal person would be. So maybe he just didn't remove his hoodie because it was cold. So you get a call from the school. This is what happened. As a parent of a 10-year-old child, what is your response?
You ever seen the movie 3 o'clock?
No.
I'm there. When I ask you, I'm there at 3 o'clock. When you clock out, I'm not going to do it in front of the kids because they'll hit me with endangerment to a child. But when you go to your car that evening, we're going to get it on.
Well, let me tell you about a scenario that I had. You know, it's no secret my kids have been known to be unruly. But 10 kids ran away, skipped school at 8 o'clock in the morning. There was 10 of them. At 8 o'clock in the morning, at 6 o'clock, my son hadn't came home from school. So I called the bus barn. Well, no, ma'am, he wasn't on the bus. Was he on the bus this morning? Yes, ma'am, he was. I blew up the phone at the school. Nothing. I finally got a hold of the supervisor at the bus barn, and she said, well, ma'am, is it possible that he's one of the 10 kids that skipped school this morning? And I'm like, okay, it is possible, but why wasn't I notified? My kids skipped the entire day, and not one person from that school called me. So I showed up to the school. When I showed up there, it's almost 7 o'clock at night, and it's already dark, with 9 other parents that are looking for their children also. 3 out of the 10 parents had been notified. The rest hadn't. So we're all up there wondering where our kids are. It's one thing to skip school, but 9 times out of 10, when the kids skip school, they show up at home like they've been at school all day, or they show up. My kids would always show up at the bus. When the buses pulled up, they'd show up like they had been in school all day. Nothing. So here it is now, 9 o'clock at night, still no kids. I hashtag click to Houston and had the news crew out there within an hour. And police, everybody was up there. I was raising 10 kinds of hell. The principal pulls up to the school asking if any of the kids had been found, and I went the hell off. I'm like, first of all, it is your responsibility to notify us, and you did not notify us. It is after 9 o'clock at night, and now you're worried about where our children are. And because I raised my voice at him, he rolled up his window and pulled out of that parking lot. Didn't give two shits about them kids. 10 of them, 4 of which were female. They ended up finding them in an abandoned building, but it was all over the news. And it was like,
Wow.
you know, I had another incident where I went to the principal and said, somebody keeps threatening to beat up my daughter. What are you going to do about it? They said they would handle it. They would talk to the parents or whatever. 2-3 days after I had the conversation, if not the next day, 2 principals are standing at the bus, getting the kids onto the bus. My son and my daughter's there, and that girl walked up right in front of both of them principals and started beating on my daughter, and they just stood there. They didn't even try to break up the fight, nothing. My son had to jump in and break up the fight. So I get a phone call to come up there, and they're telling me they're going to suspend my child, but my son was like, no, Mom, don't let them do that. This is what happened. So I looked at the principal and I was like, were you standing there? And he said, yes. I said, why didn't you break that up? He's like, I didn't want to get in the middle of that. So you allowed this girl to beat up my child, and now you want to suspend her? No, it doesn't work like that. You have to be an active parent regardless of the situation. You have to be active. You have to let them know what your tolerance level is. And I was very good at that. I mean, there wasn't a day that, you know, I didn't get a phone call from the school. I had 3 kids in school. So every day I would get a phone call. Okay, what did she do now? What did he do now? It was an ongoing cycle. But, you know, I had a teacher tell me, you know, when my kids would walk out of the school, well, you know, I can't stop them. If they leave, we're just supposed to let them leave. And I'm like, but it's your responsibility to keep my child safe and in your classroom. That's what you're paid for. So how do you just allow a child? Well, I have more than him. Okay. But yet nobody called me to tell me your child walked out of first period today. Your child walked out of second period today. He hasn't been here the rest of the day. And I get it. They 20, 30 kids to a classroom. It's hard to make that call, but you've got people sitting in the office at the front of the school not doing anything half the time. They could make the phone call. I don't know. I think a lot of things need to change. I think it was worse, though, when kids were being homeschooled because of COVID, because kids were not even doing their work at that time. You know, they were, it was like, I can imagine how far behind they are just from that period to where they were being, you know, taught at home. Because my kids would log into the computer and go right back to sleep. It's like, well, Mom, I don't have to have my work done until tomorrow morning. I'm like, your teacher doesn't realize you're not on camera? I don't get it. But I honestly wish they would go back to when I was in school, because I don't think we would have half the problems we have right now if the teachers were allowed to nip it in the bud.
It starts at home. And I mean, I see a lot of it monitoring what they do when they're younger. Cuts a lot of it out. You know.
But I was that parent, though. I was very active in my kids' life from day one.
Yeah. Always
at the school, always checking their homework, always making sure, communicating with the teacher. The teachers had all my cell phone numbers, had everything. So my kids knew when they came home, I already knew how their day went, because I had an email set up with all the teachers that would just email me on a daily basis. This is how they did today. It asked a little bit too much of the teachers, but we got to the point where I had to complain so much that I wasn't getting informed that now I was on an email list. At the end of the day, they had to report to me how my child did in every class. Every class. My kids had to have the teacher sign a piece of paper stating that they attended their class and spent the entire time in class. I mean, I was that involved to the point where I'm like, you guys get paid. They're in your supervision. You need to make them stay in the class. You need to make them do their homework or their schoolwork. It's my responsibility to get them there and to get their homework done. It's your responsibility while you have them on campus to make sure this happens. And because I stayed active about that, then they finally made other arrangements. I'm like, okay, we're going to email you. We're going to tell you how the day went. So by the time my kids walked in the door, I already knew everything. You couldn't tell me nothing, but I would play it off. How was your day today? Oh, fine. You didn't get in trouble for nothing? Nope. What's this email about? Oh, she's lying. He's lying. No. Let's go to have a meeting tomorrow at the school. My kids knew it was nothing for me to show up at that school. Nothing. I want to know what's going on. Why are you doing this to this? Why is this happening? The only thing that I didn't really get on top of, which I wish I would have, is the meals that they were serving the kids at school. My kids would not eat all day because the meals were horrible.
Yeah, it's like that in my house also.
Horrible. They would come home starved, and I'm like, they're eating before dinner's even ready. So when dinner's ready, they're full. They don't want to eat anymore. So I'm like, why didn't you eat all day? How do you learn and how do you be productive when your stomach is louder than you are? But that's one thing. I was like, okay, let me just send you a lunch.
That's a big difference right there, because we ate what we had to eat. We didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
So you ate lunch every day. You was happy to eat lunch every day. These kids eat that. Well, I'm not going to eat that. Well, they do the same thing at home. I'm not going to eat that. Well, I don't eat that. You cooking. I don't want that. I don't eat that. Then the next thing you know, they got a snack. Not in my house. You eat what we cook or you don't.
Well, a snack for my kids always ended up being something like candy. But I would buy yogurts and fruit and different things like that, nutritious stuff, and they never wanted a snack when I had all the good stuff. But if there was potato chips or ice cream or cookies, that's the days that they wanted a snack. So I had to totally reinvent the whole snack wheel. If you're hungry, this is your option. You can have a yogurt, a fruit. I had options for them. So eventually they got used to that. But as soon as you turn your back, man, I didn't let them have soda in the house. There was a lot of different things that I did because I just felt like, I wanted to be the parent that was involved, making sure their homework was done, getting their school clothes out for school. Of course, when they became teenagers, I was way more lax as far as, their school clothes and stuff. But man, if there was a problem at that school, though, just like my friend Karen, they all know her. When she walks in that room, walks in the school about her kids, everybody knows that there's hell to pay because she don't come up there unless somebody's messing with her child, and she don't take no crap from nobody. So, I really feel like an absent parent, a lot of things can happen, can get, and that's probably, and I'm not saying the reason, but that's probably why so many kids have felt like their only option was to take their life because nobody was paying attention, nobody was listening, and nobody was fixing the problem. Could that have been at home or at the school? Probably. I mean, at the end of the day, I'll never understand that, how a child so young can go through so much to make them feel like the only solution was taking their life. As adults, we go through a lot. A lot, but what do you do? What do you do? I would love to hear somebody else call in before the end of the show. Give us your comment, your views. If we said something you didn't agree with, let us know about it because, at the end of the day, we all have our own opinions. We all would deal with things differently, but I always say you don't really know how you're going to deal with a situation until you're faced with that situation.
Yeah, that's correct.
We could say every day, this is what I would do. This is what I would do. But at the end of the day, until that situation slaps you in the face, you really don't know how you would handle it. You don't. But I would like to think that most parents are going to stand up for their children, regardless of the children's behavior. Obviously, the children needs to have some sort of discipline for doing whatever, but not to the point where, it gets so free-handed that a teacher is just going to backhand your kid or throw them across the room or, that stuff's happening in daycares now where, kids are being, I don't know if abused is the right word, but things are happening.
Some of them need to be locked up with each other.
I've seen some pictures and I'm like, I would die. I would die if anything happened like that. I don't know. It would not be a pretty sight. But, he's been fired, early retirement, however you want to look at it. So what happens to the next teacher he decides not to move his hoodie from? At what point do you feel like that policy maybe needs to be adjusted. Is it really that important that they don't wear a hoodie in school? Is it a distraction? Yes, but why are they wearing the hoodie? Is it cold? Can you add heat to the classroom? Can he wear a sweater instead of a hoodie? Maybe his family can't afford to buy him a sweater that will keep him warm. Do you have a sweater laying around you could give him? There's a lot of different options. I don't know. Maybe he was just being disobedient.
You stop him at the door before the conflicts start.
Exactly. And security's at the door to do that.
You're not coming in my classroom with that hoodie on.
Exactly.
So
nip it in the bud. And who knows, that might have been what happened, but we never get the whole story anyway. So unless you're there to really see it, but other than that, we've got some great interviews coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
We've done our women's segment. We've got the men's segment. Then we're going to bring the women and the men back so we can get them all in the same place, which is hard to do when you got entrepreneur business women all with different schedules. But we're working on that. Working on getting some information out about business. But most importantly, if you have a business and you want to have some promotions done, you want to have an interview, definitely reach out to us. This show is all about teaching and supporting and sharing information that may help you. When you go into business, not everybody knows A through Z what needs to be done. So if we can share a couple of alphabets with you on different ways to handle things, then we feel like we're doing pretty good here. So if you would like to be interviewed, you would like to have a review of your products, you would like to have an on-air food review or, with baked items, whatever. We did a review yesterday, vegan desserts, and you'd have never known they were vegan. Amazing. Mm-hmm. Me and Malcolm both were scared. Malcolm's like, I'm not eating it. Baby, you have to eat it. It's an on-air food review. I can't do the review by myself. But we were both scared because, it just has that stigma about it that you worry about, how's that going to taste good if it doesn't have dairy in it? But honest to God, you could not tell that that it was vegan. If she would not have told me, I would not have known. So good. And I'm not a cake person. She made red velvet cake pops and she made chocolate chip cookies. Would not have been able to tell. So we love, love, love to do food reviews, whether you do candy, baked items, drinks, food, whatever the case may be. Between this show and the After Dark with Malcolm and Lisa show and Malcolm and Lisa's World, we do product and food reviews. So you are more than welcome to bring your product up here. Let us try it. That could be lotion. It could be candles. It could be anything. Room spray. Whatever it is that you are branding, whatever it is that you are doing with your business.
THC brownies.
Exactly.
Cookies.
CBD, whatever the case.
CBD, not THC. CBD.
Whatever it is. If you make shirts, you could bring your shirts up here. Let us feel on your shirts. Let us look at the quality of how you're making the shirts. Different things like that. We can give you a product review. Malcolm and Lisa's World is actually getting monetized. We're social media influencers. So that gets a lot of views. I can go live for like 30 minutes and 7,000 people have tuned in. Yeah. It's getting a lot of views. So, if we do any kind of product review, we'll make sure to go live on that page to get more awareness. But we're state to state and international. We got a lot of views on the radio, plus we stream on all social media platforms. We added YouTube to our streaming today. So now we are streaming directly straight into YouTube now. I'm super excited about that. We're always upgrading. So next thing is Instagram. If we could go live with Instagram at the same time, we would be knocking it out of the park. The only other options for this package was LinkedIn and Twitter, and we don't use either one. So I guess we'll have to get used to it. But, just if you have a product you want us to review, and not only that, but Maybay Life, she has millions of views and she does product reviews for free. So reach out to us, get her information, and we'll definitely put you in touch with her, whether it's wigs, makeup, lip gloss, shoes, clothes, whatever. It doesn't matter what the product is. we'll definitely try it, feel it, touch it, wear it, whatever, and give you an amazing or a true to the point review about your product right here on air. And it's no charge for us to do that. Anytime that you're bringing a product, keep in mind, of course, we 9 times out of 10 will keep the product, whether it's food, we'll eat it or whatever, but you're supplying the product, so we do not charge for that fee. But if you're a regular business owner, you have a service, you want to come up and be interviewed, definitely reach out to us. We can give you the rates. We have very budget friendly rates, so it's definitely worth your money and definitely a good way to do it. But stay tuned every Tuesday, 7:00 every Tuesday for this Real Talk Power Hour. And next week we should have a guest in the studio, so it won't be kind of a fly by your pants. But I think we did pretty good flying by our pants tonight.
Pretty good. And things happen, so we understand that.
Absolutely.
And we're coming back strong. We finished up strong with the ladies, the men. We're getting them lined up. We're coming strong, and then we're going to have one of those Tyler Perry powwows where we got everybody in here together. We're going to take about 2 hours and get it in, Just let everybody.
Or we could do men versus women.
Yeah.
Because women and men may have a difference of opinion. So we could ask the women a question and then ask the man the same question and see if we get different responses from them. Because, a lot of times women, we may answer or deal with situations based on our feelings, where men are kind of remove the feelings out of the package. So that would be that'd be pretty cute to do, the men versus the women.
Yeah.
Get them all like a round table type thing.
Yeah, we can do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to check out our sponsors for tonight's show. If you have a cake or a chocolate vision that you want to make happen, definitely reach out to Craven Cakes. They are on our website. They are on our social media. They are a sponsor of the Power Hour. Check them out. Order your food. Your desserts from them, whether it's cakes or chocolate shoes, chocolate covered strawberries, anything like that. Definitely give them a shout out. If you're looking for someone to cater your next event, definitely check out our other sponsor, which is Let 'em Eat.
Let 'em eat.
And we'll be updating that address soon, so you guys know exactly where he's located. Trust and believe, all of his food has been amazing. He has amazing wings. Everything he has cooked, everything that I have tried of his has been amazing. So you definitely want to go check him out.
Yeah, he's still getting set up, just moved location. So, he'll be back strong next week also. So if you're listening in, KP,
we're ready for you, baby. We're off punishment now. You've punished us long enough.
Yep.
But yes, definitely 2 wonderful sponsors for this show. So definitely check them both out. Give them some love, some support. Even if you just share their posts, it's not a service you need right now. Share their posts, because anybody on your page could be looking for that special caterer, for that special baker to make something. And, his wife is very talented. If you bring her an idea, there's a 99% chance she's going to follow through with that idea, regardless of what it is. Her work speaks for itself. So definitely check them out, guys. They definitely deserve your love and support. Thank you for tuning in. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back in about 15 minutes with the crazy creativity with Wendy Quick and her 2 beautiful daughters. So we're going to be back probably in the next 15 to 20 minutes. You guys stay tuned.
Sucking good crawfish. Here I come.
All right, guys. Thank you. You're going to Sucking Good Crawfish, are you?
Fat Tuesday, baby.
They have tacos today. Awesome. So when do you leave for Vegas?
On the 16th. Yeah. On the 16th. Yeah. We're going for spring break. Like I said, we're going to take the kids to Florida.